Welcome back to Under Baobab Skies. Tonight, we journey into the heart of East Africa, to the sweeping plains where the sky feels vast enough to hold 1,000 stories. We're here to delve into the fierce, disciplined world of the Maasai warriors, men shaped by dust, courage, and ancient tradition. Across the open grasslands of Kenya and northern Tanzania, as the sun dips low, the evening wind whispers through tall grass, the air is thick with the scent of cowhide and wood smoke. In the distance, cattle low softly, their silhouettes stark against the twilight. A young warrior hums a slow, rhythmic chanter sound that seems to call bravery into the very bones. The Maasai call themselves Maasai, which simply means the people. But within that simple word lives a universe of discipline, ritual, and profound identity. To become a warrior, Marani's not just about learning to fight, it's about enduring pain with stoic silence, living by a strict code of honor, and protecting what is most sacred: the cattle, the land, and the rhythm of a community that still moves to the beat of ancestral drums. This isn't a simple tale of glory or conquest. It's a story of survival, of what it means to be forged in the fire of manhood. To never complain, even when blood and dust become one. Every scar, every moment of silence, every dance under the moon tells a story of belonging and of the price paid for that honor. So tonight, let's slow our breath and walk alongside them. We'll sit near the fire, where the voices of elders echo through generations. We will trace the journey from boyhood to warriorhood, from fear to pride, from isolation to honor. The fire crackles softly now, and we rest for a moment beneath the stars. When the wind changes, the smell of dry grass brings memories of trials faced and overcome. It carries whispers of lions hunted not for sport, but to prove one's courage and readiness. It speaks of wounds endured in silence, and of songs sung for those who never returned from the bush. To become a Maasai warrior was never a simple declaration. It was a complete transformation of body and spirit, a sacred passage witnessed by the ancestors and the entire community. The journey began in boyhood. Long before a boy could even dream of holding a spear, he was a herdsman. His classroom was the open savanna, his teachers, the elders, and the very animals he protected. He learned to read the clouds for rain, to track a lost calf for miles, and to distinguish the call of a predator from the rustle of the wind. He learned that cattle were not just livestock, they were life itself, a gift from the sky god, Guy. The wealth, health, and future of his family were counted not in coins, but in the number of healthy cattle in their boma. This deep connection to their herds instilled a sense of responsibility that would define his entire existence. As a boy approached adolescence, the whispers of the next stage would begin. This was the preparation for Imuritari, the circumcision ceremony. This was not merely a physical procedure. It was the ultimate test of courage, the gateway to manhood. The days leading up to it were filled with instruction and ritual. Elders would gather the boys, teaching them the laws of the Maasai, the history of their people, and the duties of a warrior. They were taught to face pain without flinching, to show no fear, because any sign of weakness would bring shame not just to themselves, but to their entire family. The weight of generations of warriors rested on their young shoulders. On the day of the ceremony, a boy would have to stand firm, silent, as the rite was performed. His stoicism was his first act as a man. Once initiated, he was no longer a boy. He was now a junior warrior, a Moran. He would leave his family home and join an age set of other newly initiated warriors. They would live together, often in a special settlement known as a yata. Their iconic red SHKs, long hair braided and colored with ochre, and ornate beadwork became their uniform. This was a period of intense bonding and training. They were the protectors of the community, the first line of defense against cattle raiders and predators. They learned the art of the spear and the shield, honing their skills through mock battles and rigorous drills. They were taught to move as one, to think as one, to be a single, formidable force. Their life was a paradox of freedom and strict discipline. They roamed the lands, but were bound by a complex set of rules governing their diet, their conduct, and their interactions. This period, which could last for many years, was the crucible that forged them into the legendary warriors of Maasai lore. And as we journey through this night together, you'll see that the road to warriorhood was anything but easy, but it was sacred, noble, and beautiful in its own profound way. Thank you for joining us. If you're enjoying this journey, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories from under the African sky. You are now under baobab skies, and the story begins now. Have you ever wondered what it truly takes to become a legend? To be a name whispered with a mix of awe and fear across the vast plains of Africa? By the end of this journey, you'll understand what made the life of a Maasai warrior both admirable and punishing, a path lined with endurance, expectation, and constant risk. The journey to becoming a Moran, a Maasai warrior, began not with glory, but with pain, physical, visible, and unforgettable. For every boy on the cusp of manhood, circumcision was not just a medical procedure. It was a profound public test of courage. Imagine this: the entire village is gathered. The elders, with faces etched by time and wisdom, watch closely, their staffs planted firmly in the earth. The women sing, their voices a soft but firm current of encouragement. And the boy, trembling inside but outwardly still as a stone, has one single, absolute commandment: do not flinch. If a single tear were to escape his eye, if his body moved even a fraction of an inch, shame would become his shadow, following him for years. That one moment, under the sharp edge of the knife, decided his future. It determined whether he would be respected as a man or forever pitied as a child who failed the test. The knife cut deep into the flesh, but the greater wound was spiritual. It was the deliberate breaking of fear itself. It was the moment a boy's spirit was reforged in the crucible of communal expectation. Those who passed this brutal test, who endured without a sound, were immediately transformed. They were anointed with ash and ochre, their faces painted with the symbols of their new status, their mothers looking on with silent, fierce pride. From that day forward, they were no longer boys. They were Ilmaran, warriors in training. Their old life was over. They would now live apart from their families, sometimes for up to a decade, in special villages known as manyatas. Here, in these isolated communities, no comfort awaited them. Life in a manyata was a relentless exercise in discipline. It was strict, it was monotonous, and it was designed to strip away every ounce of softness. The young warriors woke before the sun painted the sky. Their first task, a jarring bath in cold water, a shock to the system meant to sharpen their senses. Survival was taught through scarcity. They learned to live on little food, to push their bodies beyond the limits of hunger and exhaustion. Their days were filled with purpose. They were the guardians of the community's most precious resource, the cattle. They spent countless hours tending to the herds, their eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of threat. Training with spears was a daily ritual, honing their accuracy and strength until the weapon felt like an extension of their own arm. They practiced running, barefoot, for miles across the thorn-strewn land, building an endurance that would be the envy of any modern athlete. Their feet grew tough, their lungs powerful, and their minds unbreakable. The rules of the manyata were absolute. Warriors were forbidden from marrying or even spending significant time with women. Their focus had to be as sharp and singular as the point of their spear. All energy, physical and mental, was to be directed towards their duties as protectors. In this austere environment, even laughter was a rarity. Silence was cultivated as a sign of strength, a way to maintain constant vigilance. Yet, beneath this rigid discipline, something powerful grew. In the shared hardship, in the silent understanding of their common purpose, unbreakable bonds of brotherhood were forged. This wasn't a friendship of easy conversation, but a deep, unspoken loyalty built in the fire of shared struggle. They were a unit, a single entity dedicated to the survival of their people. Food in the Monyata was simple, functional, and deeply symbolic. The warriors' diet consisted mainly of milk, often mixed with a small amount of cow blood drawn without harming the animal. This mixture, incredibly high in protein and nutrients, was more than just sustenance. It symbolized their intimate connection to the cattle they guarded. For the Maasai cattle are not just livestock, they are life, wealth, and the physical manifestation of their spiritual world. To drink the milk and blood was to reaffirm their bond with the herd, to become one with the lifeblood of their culture. But being a warrior was not just about discipline and diet. It was about constant, unwavering vigilance. The world beyond their village was filled with danger. At any moment, raiders from other ethnic groups, like the Turkana, the Samburu, or the Kikuyu, could appear on the horizon, intent on stealing the cattle that represented their people's survival. A true Moran had to be ready, always, to defend his herd, his land, and his people without a moment's hesitation. Night patrols were a routine part of this life. As darkness fell over the savannah, the warriors would move out in small groups, walking in complete silence, their senses honed to a razor's edge. Every sound in the vast, dark expanse held meaning. The distant sound of hooves, a twig snapping underfoot, the call of a night bird, any of these could signal impending danger. They learned to read the night, to see in the dark, to become shadows moving through the tall grass. And when battle came, as it inevitably did, there was no room for fear. They fought with the weapons they had mastered: long, slender spears and heavy wooden clubs. Their movements were a dance of agility and lethal force, a testament to years of training. Yet, the purpose of this violence was not blind aggression. It was about protection. It was about justice. And it was about defending the pride and honor of the Maasai people. Every fight was a statement. We are here, and we will not be broken. Despite the deep camaraderie of the Monyata, the life of a warrior was fundamentally a lonely one. They were separated from the very communities they protected. They couldn't live with their families, they couldn't settle down, and most importantly, they could never show weakness. Their role demanded an emotional fortitude that bordered on isolation. Many of the traditional songs from that era tell poignant stories of young warriors standing guard, under a blanket of stars, missing the sound of their mothers' voices, longing for the simple comforts of home, but steadfastly refusing to return until their duty was done and their honor was secured. Only after years of dedicated service, after proving themselves in battle, after successfully leading raids to recover stolen cattle, and after earning the deep respect of the elders could a warrior begin to dream of a different life. A life of returning home, of marriage, of building a family, of the quiet dignity of becoming an elder himself. But by the time they reached that point, many were marked by the journey. The scars they carried were not just on their skin, but etched into their souls. Even as the community celebrated their return, showering them with praise and honor, an unspoken truth lingered in the air. The immense bravery they had shown came at the cost of profound exhaustion. Some warriors never fully recovered from the violence they had witnessed or the losses they had endured. Others carried their pride like a suit of armor, beautiful and impressive, but incredibly heavy. The weight of being a hero, of being a living legend, could be a burden in itself. And yet, for all the hardship, for all the pain and loneliness, the title of Moran remained sacred. It was the pinnacle of Maasai manhood. Every young boy growing up in a Maasai village dreamed of the day he would earn that title. Every song sung round the evening fire praised the courage of the warriors, and every elder, looking out over the plains, knew that, without these brave, disciplined, and utterly dedicated young men, the Maasai people, their culture, and their way of life could not survive. They were, and in many ways still are, the heart, the shield, and the enduring spirit of the Maasai. The morning air over the Maasai plains is sharp and clear, the kind that wakes your bones before the sun fully rises. A young Moran, a warrior, stands at the edge of his camp, his spear catching the first golden light. Around him, others are stirring, wrapping their iconic red SHKs tighter against the chill, rubbing ash on their bodies, and whispering prayers to Enkai, the god who watches over all things, wild and human. To an outsider, this might look like the ultimate freedom. Open plains, powerful men, the songs of cattle echoing into eternity. But for the Moran, every single sunrise brings another test. A warrior's life isn't just about strength. It's about endurance, of hunger, of silence, of pride, and of pain. Each warrior carries the immense burden of protection. He protects his cattle, his age set of fellow warriors, and the entire community. The cattle are not just animals, they are life itself. Every hide, every drop of milk, every lowing sound is directly tied to survival. To lose a single cow is like losing a heartbeat from the community's chest. So, the Moran walks 4 miles, tracking his herds through thorny savannas, bravely chasing off lions, and patching up wounded calves with practiced hands. His eyes learn to read the dust in the air, knowing from a single swirl whether danger is near. His ears sharpen until he can hear a hyena's laugh from a mile away. But this protection isn't only for the animals, it's for the people, especially the women, children, and elders who stay behind in the Enkang, the homestead. When raiders come or a devastating drought strikes, the warriors must be ready, even when their own bodies are starving and weak. Pain is a teacher that arrives early in a warrior's life. During his circumcision ceremony, a boy must not flinch, cry, or move. Not even a blink can betray weakness. If he does, the shame will follow him for the rest of his life. After that, pain becomes a familiar language. It teaches him discipline. He learns to sleep on thorny ground without complaint. He eats very little, silencing the pangs of hunger. He learns to stare down a lion without fear and to fight other warriors in stick duels that leave his body bruised and bloodied, but his pride perfectly intact. These are not acts of cruelty. They are sacred rituals of belonging. Among the Maasai, to feel pain is to grow roots deep into your culture. To conquer it is to earn a name that the wind will carry across the plains. Every warrior belongs to an age set, a generation of men who grow, fight, and eventually age together. They eat from the same pot, train under the same elders, and are forbidden from marrying until their time as a Moran is over. In these years, bonds are forged that are deeper than blood. These men share everything, from laughter to scars. They create songs that carry the stories of their victories and turn ordinary hunts into timeless legends. At night, gathered under the shadows of acacia trees, they sit by the fire and speak softly about their futures. One dreams of owning the largest herd in the region. Another dreams of dying with honor in defense of his people. And another simply dreams of surviving one more dry season. But each of them knows that these days, these brief, powerful years of youth, strength, and fire will never return. To live as a Moran is to live a life steeped in silence. Days stretch long, with the gentle sound of cattle bells often replacing speech. Thoughts become slow and deliberate, matching the rhythm of walking through the endless grass. This silence, though heavy, teaches an incredible focus. Warriors learn to listen to the earth beneath their feet, to their own heartbeat, and to the whispers of ancestors they believe are carried on the wind. In that silence, they discover what words could never teach: patience. A Maasai warrior may wait days for the rain to fall, weeks for a successful hunt, or years for his age-yet to graduate to the next stage of life. And through this waiting, he becomes part of the land itself, as constant as the horizon, as enduring as stone. One of the greatest challenges for a Moran is balancing pride with restraint. The red shuka, the elaborate braided hair, the sharp spears, they are all symbols of power and status. But the elders constantly remind them, pride is like fire, gives light, but it burns if you hold it too long. Warriors must not bring unnecessary conflict to their people. Even when provoked, even when insulted, a true Moran measures his actions with care. His role is to defend, not to destroy. His victories mean nothing if they bring shame to his clan. And so, humility becomes just another weapon in his arsenal. The warrior learns to bow before his elders, to listen before he speaks, and to share what he has before he boasts. In this, his real strength is revealed not in how hard he fights, but in how well he controls himself. For the Moran, love is a complicated thing. During their warrior years, marriage is strictly forbidden, a rule meant to keep them focused on discipline and duty. But desire doesn't wait for permission. Young women admire the warriors, their red robes, their tall posture, their fearless presence. Songs are sung about them. Dances are performed in their honor. But many warriors carry silent hearts, forbidden to settle down, unable to fully belong to any one person. Sometimes, secret romances blossom under the acacia tree's fleeting moments, caught between duty and desire. They are powerful reminders that beneath all the strength and ritual, the Moran is still human. He still longs to be seen, to be loved. Every few years, the warriors undergo ceremonies to renew their bond with the community. Cattle are slaughtered in ritual offerings, songs are sung through the night, and the Morans bless the younger boys who will one day take their place. These rituals are more than just a celebration. They are reminders that life moves in circles, not straight lines. The same spear that defends the community today will rest in the hands of another tomorrow. A Moran's pride lies not in his individual glory, but in his contribution to the chain of strength that stretches back through generations. But even the strongest warrior cannot fight a drought. When the rains fail, the cattle die, and hunger humbles even the proudest hearts. The Moran becomes both a shepherd and a survivor, walking through dust that clings to his skin like a second layer, endlessly searching for a blade of grass where none grows. Yet, even in this suffering, the Maasai spirit holds firm. Songs become prayers for rain. Elders remind the young that life, like the savanna grass, bends under pressure but always returns. The warrior learns resilience, not from comfort, but from this very struggle, the same struggle his ancestors faced on this very land. To be a warrior is not only about defending life, but about preserving dignity. The Maasai live by an unspoken code of courage, respect, endurance, and unity. A warrior who betrays these values loses more than his honor. He loses his place in the great, unfolding story of his people. So, when the Moran wakes each morning, he doesn't just face the sun, he faces the expectations of every ancestor watching him from beyond the hills. And that invisible gaze is heavier than any spear he will ever carry. The daily burdens of a warrior's life are not found in the heat of battle, but in everything that happens between the battles, the hunger, the waiting, the restraint, the quiet dignity. Every task, from guarding cattle to enduring pain, is part of a long apprenticeship in becoming truly human, not just strong. For the Maasai, greatness is not measured by how loudly you live, but by how silently you carry the weight of your people. And tomorrow, as another dawn rises over the plains, the Moran will lift his spear once more, not out of pride, but out of a deep and unwavering sense of purpose. Night falls gently over the vast plains, a dark cloak dotted with 1,000,000 stars. The fire crackles, its flames dancing and casting a warm glow on the faces of warriors gathered in a circle. Their faces are painted, marked with the red and white symbols of courage and transformation. Spears are planted firmly in the ground beside them, silent sentinels watching over this sacred moment. The wind hums a low, ancient song through the thorn branches, carrying the scent of smoke, dust, and destiny. For the Maasai, courage isn't just about standing tall against a lion. It's a much deeper test, one that reaches into the very soul of a man. A warrior, Moran, must prove himself time and time again, not for fame or glory, but to earn the right to call himself part of a lineage of men who stood unshaken in the face of absolute fear. This isn't just a physical challenge. It is a spiritual crucible. The ultimate trial, the very heart of the Moran's journey, is the lion hunt. This is not a sport. It is never done for entertainment. It is a ritual, a sacred conversation between the predator of the savannah and the protector of the people. It is a rite of passage that separates the boys from the men, the fearful from the fearless. When the time comes, the warriors gather silently before the first light of dawn touches the horizon. Their bodies are adorned with paint, their long hair braided meticulously with red ochre. They move like shadows across the land, spears held firmly in hand, their every step guided by the wisdom of older Morans who have faced death and returned to tell the tale. They are a silent, determined force, ready to uphold the honor of their tribe. Tracking the lion is an art of patience and deep connection to the earth. It involves reading the subtle language of the wild, deciphering paw prints in the dry dust, listening for the faint rustle of grass that betrays the great cat's movement. It can take hours, even days, but when they find it, there is no room for hesitation. A single wrong move, a moment of doubt, can mean death. To face the lion is to face the deepest, most primal parts of oneself. It is to stand at the very edge of life and declare with every fiber of your being, I am ready. The moment the lion charges is a moment when time itself seems to bend. The world slows to a crawl. Spears, honed and ready, flash in the sunlight. The air splits with a deafening roar and the answering shouts of the warriors. It is chaos and clarity all at once. If a warrior is brave, if he is quick, if his spirit is true, the lion falls. If not, the plains claim him, and his name becomes a whisper, a story sung by others to honor his sacrifice. This is the brutal, beautiful dance of survival and honor. After such a trial, a warrior earns more than just respect. He earns a new name, one inextricably tied to his act of courage. Among the Maasai names are not just words. They are living stories, entire histories condensed into a single breath. They are a public record of a man's character and his deeds. A man named Olamutai might carry the story of surviving a lion's claw in his very name. Another, Olenyayo, may be known for having crossed dangerous, waterless lands to protect his people. Each name becomes a map of experience, a testament to a challenge overcome. When others call him by that name, they are not simply greeting him. They are invoking his entire history. They are acknowledging the moment he stood firm when others might have fled. That is why warriors fight not only for survival, but for remembrance. Because for a Maasai to live without honor is to vanish, even while you are still breathing. But not every test of bravery happens in the heat of a hunt, in front of a charging lion. Some of the most profound acts of courage take place in the quiet moments of daily life. It is the courage to forgive an insult that stings the pride, the strength to protect a weaker member of the community, or the fortitude to lead others through hardship without a single word of complaint. These are the invisible acts of courage, the ones that often go unnoticed by the outside world, yet they define the soul of a warrior more than any battle ever could. A true Moran is not measured by how loudly he boasts of his victories, but by how calmly he acts when the world shakes around him. This is the great paradox of Maasai strength, to possess immense power without arrogance, and to wield incredible courage without noise. It is a quiet, steady, and unshakable force that holds the community together. Every Moran knows that death is not a stranger. It is a neighbor, a constant companion who walks beside him every single day. Whether it comes from a lion's claws, an enemy raid, or the quiet grip of sickness, the warrior must be ready to meet it. The elders teach a powerful lesson. When your time comes, do not curse the day. Stand as your ancestors stood. It is a philosophy of acceptance, not surrender. So, they train their minds to accept mortality. Death is not seen as a defeat. It is understood as a returner. Return to the earth, to the wind, to the sky, God. Enkai, what truly matters is how you meet that final moment. This profound mindset transforms paralyzing fear into a state of deep calmness. It teaches the Moran to walk lightly on the earth, to act bravely without desperation, and to live each day with a profound sense of dignity, not panic. When a warrior falls, there are no elaborate tombs or marble stones to mark his passing. His body may be left to the scavengers, a final offering back to the land. For the Maasai believe that burying a body contaminates the sacred earth. But his name, his story, his songs, those remain, and they are immortal. His brothers sing for him around the fire, their voices carrying his memory into the night. His bravery becomes a lesson for the young boys who are just learning to hold their first spears. His laughter, his strength, his moments of pain, all are absorbed into the collective heartbeat of the tribe. In this way, no warrior is ever truly gone. He becomes one with the soil, the stars, and the stories that keep his people alive for generations to come. After years of service and sacrifice, a Moran eventually transitions into elderhood. This, too, is a test not of the body's strength, but of wisdom's depth. The once fiery young man, quick to action and proud of his prowess, must now become patient and deliberate. He must learn to guide, not to boast, to advise, not to command. This transformation is one of the hardest trials of all, to let go of the glory of youth and embrace the slower, more profound rhythm of respect. The warrior learns that true honor lies not in being feared, but in being trusted. It is the wisdom to lead without shouting, to teach without pride, and to remember that the same spear that once took life must now be used to protect peace. By the end of his warrior years, the Moran has faced it all: pain, fear, hunger, and triumph. His body carries the history of his life in its scars, each one a permanent reminder that life itself is something to be earned, not simply given. When he looks back, he understands that the grueling tests he endured were never meant to break him. They were meant to refine him, to temper his spirit like iron forged in a blazing fire. His courage is no longer loud and explosive. It is steady, reliable, like a heartbeat. His honor is no longer something he feels the need to prove, it is simply something he lives. In every action, every word, every quiet moment of reflection. And in that powerful realization, he steps quietly into the next chapter of his life, carrying the unshakable dignity of one who has walked through the fire and emerged whole. Ultimately, among the Maasai, courage and honor are not trophies to be displayed on a shelf. They are ways of walking through the world. They are the choice to hold your head high when storms rise, and the discipline to choose patience when anger burns hot. The Moran's journey is both a physical and a spiritual odyssey. It teaches one of life's greatest lessons. To be truly strong is not to dominate others, but to master oneself. And when the elders watch him now come wise, scarred, and silent, they see the cycle complete. A boy who once trembled before his first trial now stands as a man who carries the wisdom of generations in his eyes. That, the elders say, is the true measure of a warrior. Have you ever wondered how a society could thrive for centuries in one of the world's most challenging landscapes, without written laws or a centralized government? The answer lies not in fortresses or edicts, but in something far more profound. A social structure built around the rhythm of time itself. For the Maasai people of East Africa, this structure is everything. By the end of this journey, you'll understand how they shaped their entire society around a single, powerful principle: the rhythm of generations. To be born a Maasai man is to enter a lifelong brotherhood, one that defines your duty, your destiny, and the very shape of your years. The wind may change, the grass may wither and turn to dust, but the age set, the Olpora, remains eternal. It is the invisible rope that ties fathers to sons, and warriors to the ancestors who walked the same plains long before them. It is the very heartbeat of Maasai order. From the moment a young boy's head is shaved during his initiation ceremony, his life changes forever. He is no longer just a child of his mother, belonging to a single family. He now belongs to something bigger, an age set, a living, breathing band of brothers who will grow, fight, feast, and eventually age together as one. This grouping is sacred. It's the primary way the community is organized, not by wealth or by bloodline, but by the simple, powerful bond of shared time. All those who are circumcised within a few years of one another belong to the same cohort, forever bound by a shared sense of duty and a common fate. They train together as young warriors, their red SHKs a flash of color against the golden plains. They learn to herd the precious cattle, the lifeblood of their people, side by side. They stand as a unified front to defend their community from any threat. In this brotherhood, the collective comes before the individual. To betray one of your age mates is considered a deep wound to yourself. But to honor them, to lift them up, is to ensure that your own name endures through the ages. Every Maasai man knows this in his bones. You are simply nothing without your age. Each of these age sets carries its own unique name, poetic, ancient, and often tied to significant events or the character of the times. One generation might be called Ilmashuki, the fierce ones, perhaps because they came of age during a time of conflict. Another might be named Ilkatoip, which means the chosen, maybe because they were initiated during a period of great prosperity and peace. These names are far from random. They are living history. They capture the very spirit of the era in which that group of men matured. They serve as markers for drought years, successful wars, or times of great plenty. To speak the name of an age set is to recall an entire chapter in the living book of the Maasai people. In any boma or homestead, the elders can trace lineages not just by family names, but by these living time markers. An elder might see a young warrior and say with a knowing smile, "Ah, you belong to the Ilmashuki. You are fireborn. It's no wonder your spirit is so strong." This intricate system ensures that no man ever walks his path without guidance. It creates a beautiful, natural flow of mentorship and service. The young serve the old, and in return, the old prepare the young for the responsibilities that lie ahead. Boys grow up watching the Morans, the warriors learning from their posture, their courage, and their skill. They learn how to stand tall, how to handle a spear, and how to read the land. As those warriors mature, they in turn watch the elders, learning from their wisdom. They absorb the art of diplomacy, how to speak with authority, how to lead with fairness, and how to make decisions that will affect the entire community. This is how the Maasai have maintained harmony for generations without needing written laws or formal courts. Discipline flows through example, not punishment. The system also dictates the major milestones in a man's life: when he can marry, when he can take on a leadership role, and, just as importantly, when he must gracefully step aside to let the next generation rise. No one is permitted to leap ahead of his time. To rush your stage in life is seen as a sign of disrespect, an attempt to upset the delicate balance of Enkai, the creator. Becoming part of an age set isn't just a social contract. It's a spiritual bond, sealed forever through powerful ceremonies. During the initiation rites, young men are pushed to their limits. They endure hardship together, pain, hunger, and fear. And through it all, they must show unwavering courage. They do not cry out. They do not flinch. That shared suffering forges them into brothers, not just in spirit, but in blood and silence. If one of them falters during this trial, all of them are shamed. But if one triumphs, all of them are honored. From that moment on, their lives become a single, woven cord of shared memory. Decades later, when their hair has turned to grey and their hands are no longer as steady, those powerful bonds remain unbroken. When they greet one another, it is not merely as old friends catching up. They see each other as kin, made sacred by the shared fires of their youth. This structure also creates a living ladder of mentorship that connects all generations. Every age set has an elder group above it and a younger one below it. The older groups teach the younger ones through stories, through simple gestures, and through their own example. They show them how to face conflict with dignity, how to treat women and children with respect, and how to balance their strength with restraint. It's not just about being a fierce warrior. It's about being a complete man. In return for this wisdom, the younger agettes serve their elders. They take on the physical tasks, building their homes, herding their cattle, and protecting the community from harm. It's a cycle that is both deeply practical and profoundly spiritual. No one stands alone. Every man is held securely between the wisdom of those who came before him and the energy of those who will come after. This is the engine of Maasai society, how it constantly renews itself through layers of shared responsibility and mutual care. The age-set system is also crucial for maintaining order, especially during times of conflict. When a threat arises, like a raid from a rival group or a theft of cattle, the community doesn't descend into chaos. There's a clear protocol. Only the men of the current warrior age set, the Morans, are permitted to take up arms. The older men, the elders, will advise them, offering strategic counsel, but they will never interfere in the fight itself. The younger boys, meanwhile, stay behind in the kraal, protecting the remaining herds. Everyone has a specific role, and that clear division of labor often preserves life and prevents reckless action. Through this remarkable discipline, the Maasai became known as both fierce warriors and a harmonious society. They fight when necessary, but never impulsively. They obey their social structure, even in the midst of chaos, because that structure is their greatest key to survival. And this brotherhood finds its voice in song. Each age set develops its own unique songs and dances. These are not just for entertainment. They are living records, a way of keeping their shared history alive through rhythm and melody. When the Morans sing together, their voices can rise like thunder over the plains. Each chant honors not just individual acts of bravery, but the power of their unity, the unbreakable strength of men who have faced the same trials and carry the same scars. Years later, when these men have become elders, they still sing those same songs. Now, their voices are slower, gentler, heavy with the weight of memory. And through these songs, the younger generations learn not only the melody, but the legacy of their people. Perhaps the most profound lesson of the age-set system is the quiet way it teaches humility. No man, no matter how strong or famous he becomes, can skip his turn in the cycle. Even a legendary warrior, celebrated for his courage, must bow his head to an elder's counsel. And even a deeply respected elder must one day accept the inevitability of time, giving way to death and becoming a memory himself. This humility is not a sign of weakness. It's the source of balance. It ensures that individual pride can never grow so large that it tears the fabric of the community apart. Each generation builds upon the last. Each man stands for something far greater than himself. To an outsider, the Maasai age-set system might seem rigid, even restrictive. But to the people who live it, it is a perfect mirror of nature itself. Like the seasons, it flows in a predictable cycle. Like the life-giving rains, it always returns. Each stage of life brings its own unique duties and its own joys, and every man must walk through them with grace and acceptance. The Maasai believe that when this sacred balance between the generations is maintained, the land stays fertile, the herds prosper, and their creator, Enkai, is pleased. In this worldview, time is not a straight line rushing towards an unknown future. It is a circle, endless and complete. And within that sacred circle, every Maasai man walks his destined pathways, surrounded by his brothers, guided by his elders, and carried forward by the powerful stories of those who came before. In every Maasai village, life breathes through 3 generations at once. There are the elders who remember, the warriors who protect, and the children who dream. Together, they form the living spine of the community, each carrying a different weight of duty beneath the same vast African sky. It is said that when the elders speak, the wind stills to listen. When the warriors march, the earth hums beneath their feet. And when the children laugh, even the cattle raise their heads to hear. That harmony, fragile, rhythmic, eternal is the heart of Maasai existence. Let's start with the keepers of time, the elders or Ilpiani. These individuals are so much more than just old men. They are walking libraries, the carriers of law, history, and the unwritten constitution of their people. They remember the reigns of 40 years past, the great migrations of cattle, the wars fought when lions still roamed closer to camp. Their knowledge isn't held in books. It's held in their bones. To sit before them is to drink from a deep well of wisdom. The elders are the judges, the counselors, and the negotiators. They are called upon when 2 clans clash or when a young warrior's temper threatens the peace. Their strength no longer lies in their arms, but in the power of their words. As the Maasai say, An elder's tongue is sharper than a spear. It can wound the proud or heal the angry, depending entirely on how it is used. They are the anchors of the community, holding it steady through storms. Then, between boyhood and elderhood, lies the fiery heart of Maasai life. The Morans, the warriors, they are the community's shield, the keepers of courage. They are the ones who walk the grasslands at dusk, their eyes sharp for predators, both animal and human. Their presence is a promise of safety. To be a warrior is not just about fighting. It is about living a life of service. They herd the precious cattle across dangerous lands, defend the village from raiders, and uphold the community's pride through their own strength and honor. A Moran must learn to fight without cruelty and to obey without hesitation. In their moments of silence, they carry the lessons of the elders. In their laughter, they inspire the young. The warrior's life is hard, but it is also sacred, for it is the essential bridge between the freedom of youth and the responsibility of mature wisdom. And then there are the children. Barefoot, bright-eyed, their laughter cuts through the dry wind like birdsong after a long drought. They are the living promise that the Maasai world will continue, that the stories and traditions will echo into the future. Each child watches and learns how to walk with dignity, how to greet with respect, how to read the moods of the cattle and the clouds alike. Before they can even speak in full sentences, they know the names of their ancestors and the distinct, earthy smell of the ground after rain. Here, play becomes education, and responsibility arrives early. When a young boy receives his first small herd to tend, he steps into a new rhythm of life. When a girl learns to build a hut from branches and mud, she joins the silent, powerful lineage of women who shape the home. Everything they do is preparation. Nothing is wasted. The entire Maasai world functions through a chain of deep, profound respect. This isn't a respect demanded by power, but one that is earned through example. The warrior kneels before the elder not because he fears him, but because he honors the long journey he has yet to walk himself. The child bows to the warrior not just because he is mighty, but because courage itself deserves reverence. In this beautiful way, every generation serves the one before it and the one that will come after. This constant flow is what keeps the balance. Without respect, the Maasai believe the cattle would scatter and the rains would turn away. The elders speak blessings Enkai Ai, the peace of the sky, God Enkai over the warriors. The warriors, in turn, guard the herds so that the elders and children may sleep soundly. And the children give joy to the elders' hearts and a profound purpose to the warriors' sacrifices. This cycle is both sacred and social. It is how peace is woven from individual threads of duty into a strong, communal fabric. So how are great decisions made? When the Maasai face critical questions about grazing lands, alliances, or matters of justice, decisions are never made alone or in haste. The Nkagena, or the Council of Elders, gathers beneath the shade of a great acacia tree. No one raises his voice. Each man speaks slowly, his words measured like precious drops of water on dry soil. Younger men listen intently. Warriors stand in silence, observing and learning the patience that age demands. Only when every voice has been heard and a long silence falls do the elders reach a consensus. To an outsider, this process might seem inefficiently slow, but to the Maasai, speed is the enemy of wisdom. A rushed judgment can split a clan apart. A patient one can heal it. This is why the Maasai have a saying: the elder who pauses before speaking saves the village from fire. As night falls and the air cools, the community gathers. The stars rise, bright and clear in the unpolluted sky, and the elders begin to tell stories. They speak of lions who learned humility, of clever cattle thieves undone by their own pride, of boys who became true men through acts of kindness rather than just displays of strength. The children listen, their eyes wide with wonder, while the warriors smile knowingly, hearing the deeper lessons within the tales. Every story carries a lesson, meant not just for entertainment, but for guidance. It is in these quiet moments that the unbroken thread connecting the generations glows brightest. A story told tonight might save a young warrior's life tomorrow. A proverb whispered softly may become a leader's compass years from now. Discipline is also handled with a unique blend of compassion and collective responsibility. The Maasai do not raise their young through harsh punishment, but through guidance and an appeal to their sense of community honor. When a child makes a mistake, the whole community might gently correct him. When a warrior behaves without respect, an elder may call him aside, not to humiliate him, but to remind him of the honor he represents. This gentle but firm discipline ensures that no one forgets that their every action reflects on the entire clan. It also teaches empathy. The warrior who once needed guidance will, in time, guide others. The boy who was once corrected will one day correct his own sons. This is how true leadership grows through cycles of compassion and accountability. From the outside, it's easy to see the Maasai as a warrior culture, defined by their spears and their strength. But, looking within, it is the invisible bond between the elders, the warriors, and the children that sustains everything. This invisible thread of duty and respect weaves their society tighter than any rope or fence. Each age group depends completely on the others. Remove one, and the song of their culture falters. The elders, without the warriors, are just voices carried away on the wind. The warriors, without the elders, are like a fire without wood to burn. And the children, without both, are like a song with no melody. And so, they walk together through drought and plenty, through joy and mourning, generation carrying the rhythm of the one before. It's a timeless procession across the savannah, a testament to the enduring power of community. There comes a time when even the strongest spear grows dull, when even the fleetest feet prefer the rhythm of walking to the dance of war. Among the Maasai, this transition from the fire and vigor of a Maran to the calm wisdom of an elder is not an ending, but a sacred renewal. The Maasai believe life moves in circles, not lines. A warrior does not fade away. He simply steps into another form of strength. The transition is both private and public. It is a moment when pride and humility meet at the same fire. The young men who once painted themselves in ochre and strutted through the savannah as protectors must now learn the subtler art of peace of teaching, mediating, and remembering. For them, the great question becomes not how many lions have I faced, but what stories will I leave behind. The ceremony that marks this change is called Unototha, most profound of Maasai rites. It can last for days, even weeks. 1,000 songs fill the air. Women bring milk and honey, warriors shave their long, ochre-stained hair, and elders bless them with words older than the hills. That hair once a symbol of youthful beauty and pride falls to the earth as a sign of surrender to wisdom. It is a beautiful contradiction, the act of losing something to gain more. Each man emerges from the Unoto, no longer a Maran, but an elder in training, ready to take part in the council fires where the tribe's future is decided. His days of chasing lions and raiding cattle are over, but his nights are filled with new responsibilities. Now he must protect the tribe, not with his spear, but with his voice. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The elders circle, known as the asterisk Nkagena asterisk, is where the rhythm of Maasai law and life beats slow and deep. It is a space not of shouting, but of listening, where even the silence between words carries weight. These men deliberate under the same acacia trees that shaded their ancestors, speaking in measured tones, ensuring that every decision aligns with the sacred balance of nature and community. They discuss matters of grazing, water rights, marriage disputes, and the movement of cattle, the heartbeat of Maasai life. And when they speak, their words are laced with memory. Each phrase holds echoes of past councils and long-gone voices. The younger warriors listen, absorbing the rhythm of wisdom, like a melody that will one day be theirs to sing. Aging among the Maasai is not a decline, it is an ascension. Wrinkles are not seen as decay, but as testimony. Each line on an elder's face is a map of battles fought, mistakes endured, and lessons carried forward. His gait may slow, but his authority grows. He becomes a living archiver memory of the people. Even his clothing changes meaning. The bright reds of warriorhood may give way to softer, earthier tones. His spear is replaced by a staff not for combat, but for guidance. And yet, that staff carries as much power as any blade, for it commands respect earned through years of service and sacrifice. The Maasai worldview sees no division between the physical and spiritual worlds. A man's transition to elderhood is both a social event and a spiritual awakening. He begins to dream more vividly, to receive visions, to commune with ancestors whose whispers guide the living. The elders often say that the closer one moves to the earth through age, humility, and quiet, the closer one stands to the ancestors. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and the wind hums through the tall grass. In many societies, aging can carry stigma, but among the Maasai, it carries light. The young men who once feared death now seek meaning. They remember their trials, the circumcision scars, the lion hunts, the long nights guarding Cataland. They begin to see that those struggles were not just for survival, but for preparation. Each ordeal sharpened their spirit for the real work, sustaining community, harmony, and memory. In this elderhood, they also rediscover gentleness. The same hands that once gripped spears now hold grandchildren. The same voices that once shouted war songs now tell bedtime stories. The same eyes that scanned the horizon for enemies now search the skies for blessings. The Unito ceremony does not only transform individuals, it renews the entire community. Every cycle of warriors growing into elders ensures the Maasai world remains whole. The transition symbolizes the passing of responsibility, the unbroken chain from ancestors to descendants. The younger generation steps forward to defend and build, while the elders guard the moral and spiritual compass. There is a quiet poetry to this system. The old yield without bitterness, and the young rise without arrogance. Each understands their place in the grand circle. No role is permanent, but all are sacred. The final day of Unoto ends with a feast. Milk is poured, cattle are blessed. The elders chant prayers of renewal, thanking the Creator Eng for guiding another generation safely through the fires of youth. In their chants, you can hear gratitude, but also humility, a reminder that even the most courageous warrior is still a small part of something vast and eternal. When the fire burns low and the songs fade, the newly anointed elders sit together in silence. They look out over the dark plains and see the same stars they once stared at as boys. But now, the stars seem closer, their light gentler. They understand what the young cannot yet grasp, that true strength is not in the spear, but in the patience to wait, listen, and endure. And so, the cycle continues. The warriors become elders, The elders become ancestors, and the ancestors become stories told under the baobab trees. Every Maasai man walks this circle, some faster, some slower, but none alone. The people remain one long breath, exhaled across time. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the end, to grow old among the Maasai is to become a keeper of flame. You no longer rush into the wilderness to fight. You sit beside the hearth and ensure it never goes out. You become a bridge between what was and what will be, between dust and dawn. The Unito ceremony teaches the tribe that renewal does not mean forgetting the past, but folding it gently into the present. The old hair that falls to the ground becomes part of the soil. The soil grows grass. The grass feeds the cattle. The cattle feed the people. The circle holds. And so, the Maasai live not in pursuit of immortality, but in the joy of belonging to an eternal rhythm where death itself is only another kind of renewal, another door through which wisdom walks quietly into the firelight. There are few sights in Africa more mesmerizing than the Maasai Adamutha jumping dance that has traveled across the world through images, documentaries, and memory. But to the Maasai, this dance was never merely a display of athleticism or spectacle. It was and remains a sacred pulse of life, a ceremony woven from courage, rhythm, and spirit. When the Marantha young warriors gather in a circle and begin to chant, the air itself seems to thicken. Their voices rise from deep in the chest, layered and resonant, until it feels like the ground beneath them vibrates. The jumping begins slowly, one warrior at a time, springing straight upward, his body a column of power and grace. The goal is not to leap the highest, but to leap the purest, without strain, with perfect control, as though lifted by the invisible hand of the ancestors. To the untrained eye, the Adumu might seem like friendly competition, but its origins reach far deeper into the spiritual soil of Maasai life. The dance traces its lineage to ancient rites of endurance, practiced during warrior training and before lion hunts. For the Maasai, the lion Oliato was not just a predator, but a rival spirit, a teacher of strength and dignity. Facing it required more than courage. It demanded spiritual balance and unity. The Adumu prepared the body and spirit for such encounters, aligning breath and energy so that the warrior moved not from fear but from focus. In these gatherings, the jump was not only a test of fitness but of discipline, of how well a man could contain his power within stillness. The higher he rose, the more his fellow warriors sang for him, their voices forming a bridge between earth and sky. This chorus, called Njuk, bound the men together as one living rhythm. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the old days, the Adumu was also a social declaration, a coded message between warriors and the community. The circle was open, and women would watch from the side, singing encouragements or teasing refrains. These performances were not merely for courtship. They were a way of revealing inner spirit. A warrior who jumped with ease, whose feet seemed kissed by the wind, was seen as blessed by Enkai the divine. His control and composure spoke of his readiness for responsibility as protector, husband, and father. Each jump, each song, each synchronized step carried meaning. The red ochre that covered their bodies symbolized bravery and blood, the essence of life itself. The deep chants echoed the heartbeat of the land. The spacing of the circle represented unity and vigilance, a reminder that no Maasai ever stands alone. In Maasai cosmology, music and movement are not separate. Song is breath, and breath is life. When the warriors sing, they are not performing, they are invoking, each chant repetitive yet powerful, acts as a vessel for shared energy, carrying blessings to the dancers and to the community as a whole. The songs can last for hours, rising and falling like the tides of the savannah. To join the circle is to submit to rhythm, to allow yourself to be carried by something larger than yourself. The young warriors feel their blood pound, their lungs expand, their hearts synchronize with the beating of their companions' feet. By the end, they are no longer individuals, but one collective body, suspended between the sky above and the red earth below. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we breathe with the rhythm of the plains. In this way, the Adumu was also a form of spiritual purification. Before raids, ceremonies, or major community decisions, the dance helped release tension and align the group's purpose. It was the bridge between intention and action. No warrior could enter battle with a restless heart, and no group could function without harmony. Older warriors often say that the Adumu teaches a lesson, that even peace requires energy, that discipline is its own form of strength. Through every leap, a young man learned humility, balance, and control. To leap high was impressive, but to land gracefully was divine. The meaning of the Adumu was, therefore, multi-layered, physical, emotional, and spiritual. On one level, it celebrated youthful vitality. On another, it reinforced social order and cultural pride. It prepared warriors for the hardships of adulthood and marriage, where endurance and patience mattered as much as courage. Some Maasai elders still describe the dance as a conversation with the sky. Each leap is a question. Am I ready? Am I strong? Am I pure of heart? And each return to the ground is the answer, whispered back by the earth. The higher the jump, the deeper the humility required to land without arrogance. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and the drums in the distance fade into the night. The songs that accompany the Adumu often carry fragments of advice, teasing, and prophecy. They might praise bravery or warn against pride. They may even invoke blessings for rain, cattle fertility, or community peace. Because in Maasai life, everything is connected. Dance is prayer, and movement is meaning. So, when you see a young Maasai man leaping beneath the African sun, know that you are not just witnessing sport or spectacle. You are seeing centuries of memory rise and fall in rhythm with his breath, the embodiment of an ancient promise between man, earth, and sky. Each leap carries the soul of a people who have survived droughts, wars, and time itself, yet continue to find beauty in the simple act of rising again and again toward something greater than themselves. To truly watch the Adumu, to watch it in silence, is to feel that it's not a dance, but a form of prayer. There is no music from drums or flutes, only the layered rhythm of breath and voice. The sound swells and dips like the wind sweeping over the plains. The circle of warriors moves as if guided by something unseen, a pulse older than memory itself. And in that circle, the simple act of jumping transforms from mere motion into profound meaning. The vertical leap of a Maasai warrior carries a quiet, sacred metaphor. It represents the upward motion of the spirit, the deep desire to rise closer to Enkai, the divine. But it is also a powerful reminder that no matter how high one rises, one must always return to the earth. In this delicate balance between ascent and descent, the Maasai see a reflection of life itself. Courage and humility, ambition and grounding, heaven and home. In many Maasai stories, the ancestors dwell in the wind and the clouds. When a young warrior jumps, he is said to brush the very edge of that ancestral realm. The air at the top of the jump, that fleeting, weightless pause, sacred. Elders teach that this is the moment when the spirit listens most closely. when a man's intentions and his purity are revealed. To leap without greed, to land without arrogance, that is the true heart of the Adumu. The rhythm of the chant is so much more than accompaniment. It is the very breath of the people. Each deep tone from the men who remain in the circle forms the heartbeat of the ritual. Each high leap from the center channels that collective energy upward. Together, they create a living vibration, one that binds body, spirit, and community into a single, unified field of power. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and as we breathe in the night air, we can almost feel the rhythm of ancient feet upon the earth. The Maasai do not separate beauty from spirituality. Their intricate beadwork, worn during the dances, is not mere decoration but a language. Every color, every pattern carries a specific intention. Red beads symbolize bravery and unity. Blue represents the vast sky and divine protection. White stands for purity and milk, the source of all life. Green is for the land that sustains them. When the warriors dance, their beadwork catches the light like stars in motion, and these colors shimmer together, symbolizing the harmony of their world. A warrior's adornment is also a statement of his discipline. Each bracelet, each necklace, and each earring is earned through different stages of growth and maturity. The way a man carries himself, how he moves, how he jumps, all of it communicates his character. To jump high but without grace is considered nothing. To move with poise, rhythm, and restraint, that is true strength. The breath is another key to this spiritual alignment. The chant, deep, resonant, and rhythmic, is specifically designed to train control of the lungs and the diaphragm. The jump, repeated again and again, tests not only physical strength but also the mastery of breath. In this balance, a warrior learns how to use his body as a vessel of energy, a conduit for something greater than himself. Elders often say, a man who cannot control his breath cannot control his courage. The Adumu teaches this lesson without ever needing words. Each breath, each leap, each landing is an act of mindfulness, a moving ritual. The young learn patience through the steady rhythm. They learn humility through exhaustion. And they learn unity through the shared chant that never breaks, even when their legs tremble from the effort. Let's pause here again. The night grows still, and the stars begin to blink, awake above the wide, open Serengeti sky. The atmosphere during the Adumu is almost trance-like, especially at dusk when the air cools and the shadows stretch long across the plains. The circle of warriors becomes a slow-moving current of sound and energy. The chant rises and falls, sometimes for hours on end. As fatigue inevitably sets in, the dancers move beyond physical effort into a deeper state of complete surrender. Observers have noted that at this point, the men no longer seem to jump of their own will. They rise as though pulled upward by unseen hands, their bodies glowing with sweat and ochre, their eyes half closed in intense focus. The chant becomes a heartbeat that belongs to no one and everyone all at once. The Adumu becomes a doorway into communion with the ancestors, with Enkai, and most importantly, with one another. Even the silence between the chants holds profound meaning. In those brief moments of stillness, the community feels its unity most intensely. The old, the young, the women watching from the side, the children clapping softly at the edges, all are connected in this invisible weave of sound and intention. This dance is, in truth, a living philosophy. It teaches that life is circular, that energy flows between people, the land, and the sky. The vertical motion, up and down, breath and chant, rise and rest, mirrors the eternal balance that keeps the world in harmony. It reminds the Maasai that their strength comes not from dominance, but from rhythm, from the discipline of being both grounded to the earth and elevated towards the heavens. Let's pause one last time. The fire crackles softly, and the warriors' chants fade into a low hum, vibrating gently against the vastness of the stars. To outsiders, it might look like a show of endurance or masculine pride. But within the circle, each leap is a confession, a conversation, a ritual of remembrance for those who came before and for those who are yet to come. The Adumu speaks to the cycle of renewal. Every single jump is a promise that courage will never die among the Maasai people. It is here, in this sacred repetition, that we see the soul of a people who have learned to turn their very heartbeat into a ceremony. To leap is to live, to chant is to breathe together, and to dance is to remember that strength, when joined with spirit, becomes peace. The Adumu has leaped far beyond the red soils of Masaland, once performed only under the stars and witnessed by the clan. It is now seen by the world on postcards, in documentaries, at festivals, and in hotels. Yet, even as its rhythm has crossed oceans, its heartbeat remains the same. The call of a people who stand tall, unbent, and proud. For the Maasai, the Adumu is no mere tradition. It is identity. It speaks without translation. The height of the jump, the steadiness of the gaze, the precision of the postural whisper of discipline, unity, and grace. Every leap is a thread in the tapestry of who they are. It is a language written in motion, older than colonial borders, older than memory itself. The dance began long ago as part of Unoto, the ceremony marking a warrior's passage into elderhood. It was private, solemn, performed before the eyes of ancestors. The chant, the beads, the synchronized breathing, these were offerings to Enkai, the sky god, and promises of strength to the community. Imagine, under a vast African sky, a circle of young men, their red SHKs brilliant against the twilight. Their voices rise in a hypnotic chant, a sound that seems to draw its power directly from the earth. This wasn't a performance. It was prayer in motion. But time moves like wind through tall grass. The world beyond Masaland took notice. Photographers arrived with cameras, tourists with curiosity. Suddenly, the Adumu was performed not just for blessing, but for applause. Warriors began to leap in front of strangers, not just to honor tradition, but to preserve their livelihood in a rapidly changing world. And yet, beneath this new context, the spirit of the dance endures, quietly defiant. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we reflect on how old ways must bend but not break. When Maasai men perform today in Nairobi hotels, on international stages, or before foreign guests, the rhythm still carries the pulse of the ancestors. Each jump, though watched through camera lenses, still connects them to the soil beneath their bare feet. The audience may see spectacular athleticism, but within the circle, the dancers feel the weight of their lineage and their land. Elders often say, even if the eyes of strangers are upon you, remember whose song you sing. It is a profound reminder that the dance belongs not to the world's gaze, but to the community that birthed it. It's a testament to their resilience, their ability to navigate to worlds at once, the ancient and the modern. They share their culture, but they do not surrender its soul. The focus remains inward, a connection to something deeper than the fleeting attention of an audience. Over time, the Adumu became a symbol of all of Africa in the imagination of the world, a convenient shorthand for strength, nobility, and untamed beauty. Magazines, travel ads, and tourist posters used its powerful imagery to sell adventure and wildness. But in doing so, they often stripped away the sacred. They turned prayer into spectacle, ritual into a commodity. The jumper became an anonymous figure, his story and significance flattened into a single, marketable image. And yet, the Maasai endure. They continue to dance, not as victims of misrepresentation, but as keepers of memory. The same chant that once rose over the plains still echoes through microphones and speakers. The same leap that once sought divine favor still stirs awe in the hearts of those who watch. The Adumu, even when commodified, refuses to die. It adapts like fire moving through dry grass, finding new paths but keeping its flame alive and bright. Let's pause here for a moment. The night deepens, and the stars seem to lean closer, listening to the faint echo of chants carried by the wind. For young Maasai men, the dance remains a profound declaration. To master the Adumu is to declare oneself strong, reliable, and deeply connected to the roots of the people, even as schools, cities, and smartphones change the rhythm of daily life. The circle dance endures. It is how boys remember what it means to become men, not through conquest, but through composure, endurance, and grace. It's a living classroom under the open sky. In some villages, a quiet cultural revival is underway. The old songs are being recorded, passed on to ensure they are never lost to the noise of the modern world. Mothers teach their daughters the meanings behind the intricate bead colors worn during the ceremonies. Elders gather children at dusk to explain why the jump matters, not for its height, but for the harmony it represents within the community. The Adumu has also become a bridge between generations, and between the Maasai and the outside world. When performed before visitors, it often sparks conversations about land rights, the importance of cattle, and the challenges of preserving a unique culture. The dance becomes a form of diplomacy, a way to tell the world, with undeniable grace and power, we are still here. It becomes living resistance against erasure, a graceful defiance wrapped in rhythm. Through the Adumu, the Maasai reclaim the narrative that others once tried to own. Where once outsiders spoke for them, often misinterpreting their ways, now the leap speaks on their behalf. It says, "We rise from the dust, we breathe as one, and our identity cannot be photographed away or reduced to a stereotype." It is a powerful, silent statement of sovereignty and pride. Let's pause here for a moment. The wind hums through the plains, and the voices of the ancestors seem to rise and fall like the chant of the warriors. Today, when a warrior jumps, he does so in the knowledge that countless eyes across centuries and continents have watched this same motion. But his leap is not for them. It is for the cattle that have sustained his people for generations. It is for the elders who have guided him with their wisdom. It is for the friends who fell in lion hunts and never returned. It is for Enkai, who gave him breath, and for the earth that receives him when he lands. And when he stands tall again, he carries all of that strength, sacrifice, and memory in his stillness. Perhaps that is the true heart of the Adumu, not just the jump, but the landing. The silence that follows the chant, the way he looks to the horizon as if measuring not distance, but destiny. It's in that moment of quiet composure that the warrior's true character is revealed. The dance continues not just on the earth, but in spirit, in every community around the world that fights to hold onto its traditions in the face of modern noise. There is an echo of that leap. In every rhythm kept alive, despite the pressure to be silent, there is an Adumu. It reminds us all that culture is not a relic to be preserved in a museum. It is a heartbeat to be lived every single day. So, when we see the Maasai leap, let's remember we are witnessing more than just beauty or athletic prowess. We are watching history breathe. The air beneath their feet carries stories older than the stars above them, and as long as they continue to rise and fall in rhythm with the earth, the world will remember that a true identity, like courage, is never lost. It is only reborn, again and again. As the morning sun rises over the savannah, it gilds the horns of cattle like polished ivory, a quiet reminder that, for the Maasai, wealth has always walked on four legs. To the untrained eye, a herd might seem like mere livestock, but to a Maasai elder, each animal represents lineage, honor, and political might. Cattle are the currency of respect, and their abundance is the foundation upon which leaders rise. Leadership among the Maasai was never a loud affair. It wasn't seized through conquest or birthright alone, it was earned through patience, wisdom, and the ability to maintain harmony within a restless people. A chief, or Laban, didn't rule through fear, but through a calm command of knowledge, the kind that could settle a dispute with a proverb or guide a warrior's rage into discipline. The elder's authority was quiet but vast. He was the bridge between the physical and spiritual, between the young and the old. Cattle wealth was not simply about possession. It was about connection. The number of cows a family held was both a sign of divine favor and a measure of social standing. Those who had many were expected to lend or give to those who had few. This wasn't charity, was the invisible glue that bound the community together. The elder who distributed his wealth wisely earned not only loyalty but spiritual credit. For generosity was seen as a reflection of inner strength. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In every Monyata or Maasai homestead, there was a rhythm of governance as natural as breath. Decisions about grazing routes, water rights, or disputes over cattle thefts were not made by decree, but through council. The Laban would sit, surrounded by other respected men, the Elmerak listening in silence before speaking in measured tones. There was no written law, only the living memory of custom, what the Maasai call Nkagina, the moral order. This council of elders acted as the community's moral and judicial compass. To understand this leadership, you must look not to the warriors who carried spears, but to the elders who carried silence. When drought threatened the plains, it was the Laban who prayed to Enkai, the sky god, for rain. When conflict brewed between clans, it was he who reminded the warriors that true strength lay not in aggression, but in restraint and discipline. His role was to see beyond the immediate crisis and steer his people toward a sustainable future, ensuring peace prevailed over passion, wealth, and leadership, however, were inseparable. To lead meant to have cattle, for cattle were the means by which one could host feasts, offer sacrifices, and cement alliances through marriage. A leader needed resources to fulfill his obligations to the community. Yet, wealth without wisdom was dangerous. A man who grew arrogant from his abundance risked losing the respect of his peers, and, with it, his influence. The Maasai valued humility in power, the ability to own much, yet boast little. True leadership wasn't about flaunting riches. It was about using those riches to serve the greater good. Let's pause here for a moment. The wind hums through the tall grass, and somewhere in the distance, a cowbell chimes softly. The elders' power was not only material, but profoundly spiritual. Each decision they made carried ancestral weight. When the council gathered under the sacred acacia tree, they were not just speaking to one another, they were invoking the wisdom of generations past. The Laban, as the spiritual custodian, acted as the primary mediator between Enkai and the people. Through intricate rituals involving milk, herbs, and sacred chants, he worked to ensure the delicate balance of nature and human life remained unbroken. His prayers were not just for rain or prosperity, but for the spiritual well-being of the entire community, for protection against disease, and for the fertility of both their people and their herds. In this delicate balance of cattle, custom, and spirit lay the true influence of Maasai leadership. It was not about domination, but stewardship, the slow, steady hand that guided the community through storms and droughts alike. It was a leadership rooted in responsibility, not entitlement. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire glows low, and we listen to the nightbirds calling just beyond the Monyata walls. This influence extended even into how wealth was transferred. Cattle were never merely traded as commodities. They were entrusted. When a man gifted cows for a marriage, it was a transaction blessed by custom, binding two families into a single social and spiritual network. This act wasn't just an economic exchange. It was a sacred covenant that strengthened the entire community. Through these bonds, leadership perpetuated itself not through coercion or force, but through a growing web of mutual respect and shared obligation. The leader's role was to oversee these connections, ensuring fairness and honoring tradition. By now, you begin to see that Maasai leadership was an art of endurance. It required a heart steady enough to guide fierce warriors and a spirit humble enough to serve the ancestors. It demanded the foresight to plan for seasons of scarcity and the generosity to share during times of plenty. Wealth was the symbol of power, but it was wisdom that truly formed the crown. This was a leadership that understood that real strength is found not in a single man's authority, but in the collective harmony of the people. Let's pause here one last time and feel the weight of that wisdom settling quietly under the vast African night sky. When the rains returned and the grass grew tall across the plains, alliances among the Maasai also blossomed, like hidden roots beneath the soil, unseen, yet holding everything together. The Maasai understood something that outsiders rarely grasped. Survival on the savannah was not just about strength, but about relationships. And so, politics in Maasai society was not written in treaties or documents. It was woven through marriages, herding pacts, and shared rituals that linked clans and generations, a living, breathing network of trust. At the very heart of these alliances was the family, the most sacred unit of all. A man's marriage was rarely just a personal affair. It was a powerful social contract. When a warrior took a wife, her family's cattle were exchanged, her clan's blessings were given, and through this single union, two entire lineages were permanently tied together. To the Maasai, this wasn't simply romance, it was high-stakes diplomacy. Every marriage created a bridge between territories, ensuring peace, trade, and vital cooperation across vast, unforgiving stretches of land. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and the smell of roasted meat drifts through the air. Each clan carried its own distinct songs, its own unique cattle markings, and its own spiritual lineage. When disputes inevitably arose over grazing boundaries, or over who had the right to water at a particular river bend, these alliances were the invisible fences that prevented violence. Elders would gather, sometimes walking for miles, to meet under a sacred fig tree, and through long hours of debate, proverb, and profound patience, they would restore balance. The Maasai believed that a disagreement was not something to be won, but something to be healed. A respected proverb said, "The elder who rushes to speak makes the cattle restless." It meant that true wisdom was born from waiting, from letting tempers cool, from allowing silence to do its quiet, restorative work. The elders knew that each man carried his pride like a spear, sharp and easily turned against his brother. So they used the only tools strong enough to dull it: storytelling, memory, and metaphor. Let's pause here for a moment. The night deepens, and we can hear the low hum of crickets beyond the firelight. Social alliances extended far beyond the men. Women, too, were the subtle architects of diplomacy. though their influence often went unspoken. A Maasai mother was more than a caretaker. She was the keeper of social harmony. Through her, messages moved silently between families. Through her rituals, the sharing of milk, the preparation of feasts, the blessings whispered over children, relationships were constantly mended and maintained. When conflicts simmered between clans, it was often the women who urged reconciliation, quietly invoking the deep bonds of kinship. A mother might remind her son, "That warrior you wished to fight, his mother nursed me when I was young." And just like that, with a single shared memory, anger would soften. The Maasai understood that no one stood alone. Every person was a single thread in the same vast net of obligation and remembrance. Let's pause here for a moment. The stars shimmer above, and the plains fall silent except for the soft breathing of the cattle nearby. Political alliances also revolved around shared rituals and grand ceremonies. When age sets, those cohorts of young men advanced to new stages of life. The celebrations drew entire communities together. Warriors from different regions would dance side by side, their powerful chants echoing for miles across the plains. These gatherings were more than festivities. They were vital forums where news was exchanged, marriages were arranged, and pacts were reaffirmed. The rhythmic jumping, the powerful singing, the pounding of feet on dusted was as much political theatre as it was cultural joy. Even in the face of immense external pressures, colonial encroachment, missionary influence, and arbitrary government borders that split their ancestral lands, the Maasai's social fabric endured precisely because of these living alliances. Elders could call upon cousins across rivers, or invoke a decades-old marriage bond to secure help during a devastating drought. Their politics were elastic and resilient, invisible to bureaucrats with their maps and ledgers, yet impossible to destroy. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire burns low, and the elders' voices murmur like the wind moving through dry grass. Within the council's decision-making was almost ritualistic. The Ilmarak, or elders, would sit in a semicircle. The youngest among them fetched water or served milk, while the oldest always spoke last for wisdom. Like the acacia tree, grows slow. There was no concept of majority rule. Instead, the goal was consensus, a true harmony of thought. The process might last for hours or even days, but when a final decision emerged, it belonged to everyone. This slow, deliberate democracy was the backbone of Maasai governance. It taught patience, humility, and the art of listening, values that prevented chaos in a community without written laws or prisons. Every man was accountable to his peers, and every elder's word carried the echo of all those who came before him. Let's pause here for a moment. We hear the hiss of embers, and in the distance, a hyena laughs softly. Even today, these ancient systems echo in modern Maasai life. In villages where schools and churches stand beside traditional huts, elders still mediate disputes with the same proverbs used centuries ago. A handshake still means more than a signed contract. A cow given in good faith still holds more value than money earned. Marriage continues to bridge families. Councils still gather to bless herders before their long journeys. Women still exchange milk to heal tension between neighbors. And across the borders of Kenya and Tanzania, Maasai leaders still find one another because they understand that a community that forgets its alliances is like a herd without a herdsman. Let's pause here for a moment and feel that truth settled deep, that real power is not shouted but shared. Through these intricate political and social alliances, the Maasai built a civilization guided not by stone walls or standing armies, but by trust. It is that quiet, enduring trust between man and woman, elder and youth, clan and clan that allowed the red people of the plains to survive centuries of drought, invasion, and relentless change. Their politics were simple but profound: protect life, preserve dignity, and honor the sacred bond that connects all who drink from the same rain. Let's pause here one last time. The fire dims, and the stars wheel slowly across the vast night sky. As dawn breaks across the savannah, painting the world in soft gold, the Maasai elders rise. Before the rest of the village stirs, their silhouettes move slowly through the mist, wrapped in their iconic red shukas, staffs in hand. These are the inheritors of a legacy, one that stretches back farther than memory itself. To watch them walk among the cattle is to witness the living continuity of Maasai leadership, steady as the rhythm of hoofbeats, eternal as the plains. The legacy of Maasai leadership isn't carved in monuments or written in scrolls. It lives in people, in their gestures, their proverbs, the deep, meaningful silence before an elder speaks. Leadership to the Maasai has never been about power over others. It is a profound responsibility toward them. A leader is a custodian, a bridge between generations, and a voice for the ancestors. The air here is cool, and the fire from last night still smolders gently. An elder's authority comes not from wealth or coercion, but from earned trust. He is chosen by reputation, not by election. Those who speak with wisdom, who listen more than they command, who carry the memory of past famines, raids, and reconciliations, these are the ones the community follows. It is said that a true leader's power comes from the ability to make peace, not war. Every decision, whether it's moving the cattle, settling a marriage dispute, or guiding warriors, carries the weight of the ancestors. Before speaking, an elder will touch his walking stick to the ground, symbolically anchoring his words in the very soil that sustains them all. To lead is to remember that one's words can either grow the roots of peace or burn the grass of harmony. The elder's voice echoes in your mind, low and steady, like the hum of wind through dry grass. Even as time has carried the Maasai into a new world, one of borders, schools, and cities, the essence of their leadership remains. Many modern Maasai chiefs and community leaders now navigate between two worlds: the traditional law of Nkagena, which emphasizes harmony and social balance, and the modern structures of government and economy. Yet, even in offices made of concrete instead of cow dung, they carry the same moral compass their ancestors held beneath the acacia trees. In villages where the hum of electricity now coexists with old kraals, elders still gather in evening councils. The fire might be joined by the sound of a radio broadcasting news from Nairobi, but the rhythm of speech remains unbroken. Each man still waits his turn to speak. Each word still carries the breath of responsibility. The wind carries the faint laughter of children chasing each other outside. The continuity of Maasai leadership also endures through the stories told at night, the oral histories passed from grandfather to grandson. These stories are not just entertainment. They are vital lessons. They remind young warriors that bravery without wisdom is empty, that cattle without compassion is simply greed, and that strength without humility leads only to ruin. A young warrior is told that one day he, too, will lead, but only if he first learns to listen. Among the Maasai, the word for leader, *olpeon*, carries the essence of balance between people and nature, between tradition and adaptation. When droughts strike or pastures thin, the leaders must negotiate not only with neighboring clans, but with the land itself. To lead is to know the patterns of the grass, the moods of the clouds, and the migrations of the cattle. It is an intricate blend of ecological, moral, and spiritual stewardship. The sun climbs higher now, glinting off cow horns and the intricate beadwork of women who hum softly as they milk. The role of women in preserving this legacy is absolutely vital. Though the Maasai system has traditionally been patriarchal, it is the wisdom of women that sustains its emotional balance. Mothers, wives, and grandmothers are the ones who teach the values of restraint, empathy, and endurance, the invisible traits that allow leaders to lead well. Behind every elder who commands respect stands a lineage of women who shaped his moral foundation. They are the ones who remind him of his humanity when pride threatens to take hold. They whisper the stories of the past, the names of those who lived honorably, and the warnings of those who did not. In this way, Maasai leadership is not just a male story, it is a communal one, woven through the songs, the milk, and the very rhythm of life itself. The gentle sound of cowbells fills the air, and the fire pops softly. Modern Maasai leaders today face a host of new challenges: complex land rights, the demands of formal education, the pressures of tourism, and the overarching question of cultural survival in an era of globalization. Yet, even as they engage with policymakers and journalists, their moral grounding remains anchored in ancestral principles. They speak of community before the individual, of duty before personal gain, and of harmony before haste. Some have brought their traditions onto the global stage, advocating for the rights of pastoralists, the preservation of grazing lands, and the protection of their cultural heritage. When a Maasai elder speaks at a United Nations conference, still draped in his red shuka, it is not merely representation, it is continuity. It is the ancient voice of the plains speaking through a modern microphone. Imagine that voice echoing far beyond the savannah, steady and timeless. Even tourism, that modern gaze that can sometimes turn Maasai life into a spectacle, has not erased their leadership. Instead, some Maasai leaders have redefined it, using their visibility to teach, to guide, and to remind the world that culture is not a costume. It is a covenant. It carries dignity, pride, and history in every bead and every scar. As the world changes, the Maasai continue to adapt, and they do so with grace. Their leaders remind them that to bend is not to break, and that to honor tradition does not mean to fear change. So long as the fire burns in the center of each village, so long as elders still gather under a tree to decide with patience and poetry, the legacy of Maasai leadership will never fade. The sky deepens, and the voices grow quiet. The red robes may one day be replaced by new forms, the songs remixed by new tongues, but the spirit remains unbroken, unyielding, and deeply human. Leadership to the Maasai is not a throne. It is a promise to listen to the earth, to care for the cattle, and to guide the people with patience and heart. And as long as that promise endures, the spirit of the Maasai elder will continue to walk the land as certain as the dawn, as eternal as the plains. The night has deepened now. The stars shimmer like scattered embers, and the plains stretch endlessly into the dark, silent, vast, and alive. The cattle have quieted, their low hum replaced by the rhythmic chirping of crickets. Somewhere, a lone elder sits near a fading fire, his staff resting against his knee. He stares into the glowing coals, seeing not just the flames, but the memories of generations that came before him. That is where the story of the Maasai truly lives, not in the past, but in the ember that refuses to die. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Throughout our journey tonight, we have followed the path of those who walked barefoot across thorns and time. We began in hardship, with young warriors facing pain, hunger, and the endless tests of courage. We saw how the weight of manhood was carried not with arrogance, but with a profound humility, the kind born from endurance and belonging to something greater than oneself. We witnessed how a boy becomes a man, not through a single act, but through a lifetime of dedication to his community. Then we walked through the intricate rhythm of the age sets, that invisible ladder of Maasai life that organizes every man's duty, every elder's counsel, and every boy's dream. We saw how life among the Maasai is a cycle, not a linear climb. It's an unbroken ring of learning, serving, and guiding. From the energetic young warrior, the Moran, to the respected elder. Each stage of life brings new responsibilities and deeper wisdom. This structure ensures that knowledge is passed down, that the community remains strong, and that everyone has a place. It's a social architecture as elegant and enduring as the acacia trees that dot the savannah. And when we reached the heart of the Adamu, the famous jumping dance, we felt the pulse of their spirit. We saw how music and motion can bind bodies to something divine, something transcendent. The leap was never just about height. It was a connection to ancestors who leaped on the same ground, a connection to the courage required for their way of life, and a connection to the continuity of their people. Each jump is a prayer, a declaration of strength, and a celebration of life itself, echoing through the generations. Let's pause here for a moment. The night wind carries faint echoes of their song. Finally, we stood among the elders, men of quiet dignity and women of deep wisdom, and saw how leadership among the Maasai is both ancient and alive. Their law was never written down in books, yet it endures more firmly than any text. It is a law of balance, harmony, and care for the community and the land. Their leadership teaches us a vital lesson, that strength without compassion leads nowhere, and that tradition without a beating heart becomes brittle and breaks. Their words are few, but their influence is immeasurable, guiding their people with a gentle but unshakable hand. Even now, in a world filled with restless noise and the rush to forget, the Maasai remain steady. They continue to herd their cattle across the highlands, a practice that is not just their livelihood but their identity. They continue to paint their faces for ceremonies, their art telling stories that words cannot. They teach their children by example, through silence, through patience, and through song. They are a powerful reminder that there is a different way to live, a different rhythm to follow. They remind us that true power is not loud, and that survival is not merely about endurance, it is about grace. It's about moving with the land, not against it. It's about finding strength in community, not in isolation. Let's pause here for a moment. The horizon begins to brighten again. So as we close our eyes tonight, let us remember them. Remember the young warrior standing tall before the fire, his spear in hand, his gaze fixed on the future. Remember the elder murmuring wisdom beneath an acacia tree, his face a map of a life well lived. Remember the woman weaving beads, her hands moving with practiced skill, each color carrying entire histories and meanings. They are the keepers of something timeless, a truth that does not need to be shouted to be heard. Because in every tribe, in every nation, and in every era, there are those who carry the weight of their people's dignity in silence. The Maasai have done so for centuries, navigating drought, change, and the pressures of the modern world with an unyielding spirit. And they still do, as the sun rises and sets over their endless, beloved homeland. Their resilience is a quiet spoken epic. And so, as the night gives way to dawn, the story lingers like smoke from the morning fire, soft, golden, and eternal. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If their story has moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel to explore more cultures that shape our world. You are now under Baobab skies.